is John L. Bell, one of your co-facilitators for the Community Benefits Advisory Group meeting. We'll go through our housekeeping items, and then we'll open it up first to Marianne. Commissioner Matz unfortunately is unable to be with us this morning, but thank you to the City of Portland for hosting us here at the lovely renovated Portland building. We'll hear remarks from Marianne. Then we'll hand it over to our program administrator, Greg Johnson, and then open it up to all of you for intros as well. So why don't we go through the housekeeping? Next slide, please. Okay, just a reminder, we have closed captions available both in English and Spanish. English closed captions are available within Zoom and YouTube. Users can follow this link to view both English and Spanish captions in a separate browser window, https://ivr.news/captions. Next slide, please. Just a reminder, to access closed captions, you'll want to hover at the bottom middle of your screen. You should see a menu of options. If you can't see the menu, hover your mouse over the bottom middle of the screen, then click on the CC icon and a separate window with captions will appear. In an effort to continue to center equity, there is an ASL interpreter in addition to closed captioning. To make sure the interpreter is always visible, please right-click your video and select Spotlight Video. For those watching on YouTube, when we screen share, you will be able to see the slideshow, closed captioning, and the ASL interpreter. You will still be able to hear different people speaking, but may not see them. There will be an opportunity to provide brief public input later in the meeting, roughly around 9:50. Excuse me. Verbal public comment will be welcome in the Zoom webinar during the designated time with the option to turn on your camera. Please use a link located in the meeting description on the YouTube meeting page or on the IBR CBAG meeting webpage. Commenters will not be allowed to share their screens and will be removed from the room once a public comment period concludes. To comment by phone, please dial 646-931-3860 or 408-638-0968. You'll want to remember to enter meeting ID number 823-5803-3783 and the passcode 385815. Please dial *9 to raise your hand. After you are invited to speak, please dial *6 to unmute yourself. Next slide, please. Just a reminder, as we continue to work together and offer our perspectives relative to advancing community benefits, for us to remember to put relationships first, to keep focused on our common goal, for us to always be noticing the power dynamics in the room, to create a space for multiple truths and norms, to be kind and brave as we continue to center equity, for us to be examining racially biased systems and processes, and a reminder that this is a learning space for everyone, that we really want to look for opportunities for learning. Advisory group members will turn cameras on as you share this space together. We request that. We have a number of folks in the virtual space today too, so to the degree that you're able, please do turn on your cameras. Take care of your personal needs as they come up. Let the facilitator know if you need to step away. Virtual participants can participate by taking written notes and using the raise hand and speak feature for active engagement. You always want to welcome diverse perspectives. It's okay to disagree. For us to move up, move up. Reminder, if you're someone who tends to be proactive in your engagement, we ask that perhaps you leave room for those who may not be as proactive, and if you are someone who might not be as proactive with your engagement, for you to use this as an opportunity to lean in. For us to assume and have good intentions. Okay, with that, I would love to first ask our mayor of Vancouver, Marianne, to offer opening remarks.
Good morning, everyone. We're now officially in summertime. We're looking forward to some beautiful weather in the 4th of July. But let's see if we can get some things done on all of these community benefits. Thank you so much for joining us. And I saw Mingus last week in Kansas City. He was representing Gresham at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, Transit and Transportation. He did a wonderful job for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd love to invite our ODOT and WashDOT liaison, first starting with Carly.
Oh, dang, we haven't done this before. Welcome. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you folks convening this conversation ongoing. And appreciate the opportunity, one, to highlight, things that we already do and also to push the envelope. So thanks.
Thank you. And I can't recall if Ryan is online. Is Ryan here? Okay, awesome. Okay, with that, we'll invite our program administrator, Greg Johnson.
Once again, I'd like to welcome everyone. This is work that is coming onto our critical path for this program. As everyone has heard, hopefully has heard, the program has got momentum behind it with a very aggressive schedule to get to breaking ground next year. So some of the things that this group will be discussing will be going into documents, and some will be going into the final NEPA document. So we have time, but we don't have a great amount of time. So we're going to be honing in on what's important to the community and what they want to see this program bring outside of brick and mortar. So this is going to be some interesting upcoming meetings as we start to separate what the community's desires are versus things that are already a part of what we do, and some things that probably cannot be a part of this program. But once again, we're coming into this with an open mind, and we want participation. Put your best ideas on the table and let's talk about them. So with that, let's roll.
Great, thank you, Greg. And now I'll turn over to my co-facilitator, Emily Thomas-Peralta. Emily.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Emily Thomas-Peralta. I am with the Community Benefits team, and I use she, her, aya pronouns. And if we could pull the slides back up, we are going to go around and do member introductions, starting with our virtual folks. So we'll have our prompt here on the slides in just a second. And next one, please. Great, thank you so much. Oh, sorry, go back one. Thanks. Okay, so we will start with our virtual folks. So if I could please get our CBAG members who are online to please raise your hand so that we can help identify and call on each other. And we will have you introduce your name, your organizational affiliation, or your at-large status, your pronouns if you'd like to share. And then the check-in question is, what has been the highlight of your week so far? I am not sure that I have a great one to share, so I think I'll just kick it over to all of you. So let's start with Janie, and then we will move to Ryan and Farley.
Hi, everyone. Janie Haygood, she, her pronouns, chair of the Vancouver Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. Highlight of the week is that I am currently in the big island of Hawaii.
That's nice.
That's great.
That would be like a highlight of the year for me right there.
Absolutely. Let's go over to Ryan, and then we'll go to Farley and Scott.
Hi, Ryan Winsheimer. I'm the ODOT Region 1 manager. Boy, the highlight of the week. My highlight of the week is coming up. We're going to be closing I-5, Southwest Portland. That may not seem like a highlight to everyone else, but the fact that we're going to get that bridge completed most of the way, a big portion of the work, is actually pretty exciting. And I will be out there at 5 a.m. With the construction crews, looking at it and making sure that it gets open on time for everybody on Monday.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Let's go to Farley, Scott, and then Greg.
Morning, everybody. Farley Winters. I'm an architect at LSW Architects in Vancouver, Washington. Couple highlights this week. I've really been enjoying being outside. Last night, Arnada Park, the Arnada Neighborhood Association had a great little jazz concert in the park, so I really enjoyed that. And tonight is neighborhood kickball, so lots of neighborhood activities, and I just love getting out there.
Awesome. Thank you, Farley. Let's go to Scott, Greg, and then Peter.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott McCullum. I'm the work with the Washington State School for the Blind. I use he, him pronouns. My highlight of the week is coming up. Today is my Friday. So tomorrow I have the day off and I get to go watch my niece play soccer. So that'll be fun.
Awesome. Let's go to Greg, Peter, and then Vicky.
I'm Greg Johnson, IBR Program Administrator, he, him. And the highlight of my week is I welcomed my first grandchild into the.
Oh, very nice.
That is, that might be the highlight of the last 29 years since my son.
Greg, you know we're gonna want pictures, so get used to it.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, that's so great. Let's go to Peter, Vicky, and then Nate.
Good morning, everybody. Peter Fells. I use he, him pronouns. I represent Alliance for Community Engagement, which is a alliance of about 12 or 13 environmental groups in the Clark County, Southwest Washington area. Highlight of my week, yesterday I got to take a really nice bike ride on the sometimes known as the Discovery Trail, sometimes the Burnt Bridge Creek Trail. It's really nice because there are no cars and no buildings, and it's through some very pretty country. A lot of stuff is blooming, and it was cool enough for a very pleasant ride. So that was my highlight. But Greg, I think you got me topped.
Thanks, Peter. I think it's going to be hard to beat Greg's. Let's go to Vicky, Nate, and then Michael.
Hi, I'm Vicky Nakashima. I use she, her pronouns. I live in Southwest Washington, and I represent the EAG Equity Advisory Committee on this group. The highlight is maybe a few days longer than a week this week, but it was going to the 8-second rodeo in Portland, which is the all-Black rodeo started by a wonderful person, Ivan McClellan, who is a Portlander and started the 8-second rodeo. It was such a wonderful experience and so exciting, and I'm so grateful that he's doing it. Makes me want a Japanese American rodeo, but I think there's 2 of us in it. So that's mine.
Thanks so much, Vicky. Let's go to Nate, Michael, and then Corky.
Good morning, everybody. Nate McCoy, President and CEO of NAMAC Oregon. Use he, him pronouns. My highlights for the week are kind of twofold. My oldest son just graduated elementary school, going to middle school for that journey. Happened to go to the same school as Ivan's kids at Kairos PDX. So very happy about seeing my kid get to middle school. And then the second part being everybody who loves the Portland Trail Blazers. We picked 2 really good draft picks in the draft last night. So I feel good about maybe taking this young team to the next level. So for Portland Trail Blazers fans, it looks like we might have a good center coming our way. So happy to be with everybody today.
Thank you, Nate. I'm feeling better about that than my Sacramento Kings. So let's go with Michael, Corky, and then Steve.
Michael Strauss with Kimco Realty, the owner of the Jansen Beach Center, representing the business interests within our shopping center and beyond across the Eden Island. He, him pronouns, and my highlight of the week is tomorrow evening because I'm ready for the weekend. Thank you.
Love that. Let's go with Corky, Steve, and then we'll go to Shannon.
Sure. Corky Collier with Columbia Corridor Association and the Swan Island Business Association. First of all, congratulations, Greg. My highlight's not a great one, and it's the reason I'm not there is I'm shuttling around getting my wife and child to the airport where they're going to be gone for a week and a half. So my highlight was not a good one. So I'm going to miss them.
Thank you, Corky. Let's go to Steve and then we'll go to Shannon.
Steve Barnett. I'm the tribal council chair for the Cowlitz Indian tribe. My highlight for the week was watching my son get his first attorney's job and start.
Yay.
That's so great. Thank you. Shannon, let's go to you.
Thanks, Emily. Shannon Singleton. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm your community benefits lead for IBR. I would say my highlight is I just got back from Mexico. I'm just still riding the vacation high. I've been able to hold on to it for almost a week now. So I'm going to stick with that as long as I can.
Thank you, Shannon. And Janelle, before I turn it to you for in person, I had a little time to think of mine. And this weekend, I live here in Houston, and they're having a Pride celebration. And I've never been able to be one since I was here at Houston for like the last 5 years. So I'm looking forward to going to that and checking out how it goes here. So Janelle, we will turn it over to you for the in-person introductions.
Great, and just real quickly, I know that our public comment is to start at 9:50. Do we have anyone signed up in our queue right now?
We do not have anyone right now.
Okay, please let us know if that changes. Okay, we'll start off with Holly next.
Holly Williams, she, her, at large. My highlight was riding the annual ride, the Willapa Ride, with my fellow Parks Commissioners. It's a multi-use trail that starts in Chehalis.
Great, and next to me, Mayor
Ann McInerney Ogle, Mayor for the City of Vancouver. This will tell you probably a lot about my life. I was real happy to get all 41 windows washed in my house.
Things a little more clearly, right?
Yep, I see things clearly.
Eric Holmes, City Manager for Vancouver, and I got to watch sunset in Cannon Beach this week.
Yeah, that was
Carly Francis.
We do have a public comment.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take that public comment now. Real quickly, Emily, if you could just go through the public comment slides, Eric or Fabian, if you could pull those up real quickly, and then we'll come those.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Let's get the slides up real quickly again, the instructions for the public comment.
Thank you.
The slides for the public comment.
Yeah. Amelia, you have to stop sharing first.
Okay, 1 second.
It's the first time we have public comment right on time, huh? That's cool.
All right.
Right
yeah, you can move forward. It's later on. It'll be after the agenda slide. Yep, one more. Okay. There you go. Thank you. So for public comment instructions, to make a verbal comment, to make a live comment via phone, dial 1-646-931-3860 or 1-408-638-0968. The meeting ID is 823-5803-3783. Passcode 385815. Dial *9 to raise your hand. The facilitator will call on participants to provide comment. Dial *6 to unmute yourself. Please provide your name and affiliation. There will be a total of a 10-minute time frame that will be divided amongst the number of requested speakers, and we will have 2 minutes allocated. If we run out of time, you have not had a chance to speak, you can still provide comments after the meeting. Next slide, please. To submit comments after the meeting, fill out the comment form on the program website or email your comments to info@interstatebridge.org with CBAG Public Comment in the subject line. Call 360-859-0494 for Washington, 503-897-9218 for Oregon, 888-503-6735 for toll free. and state CBAG public comment in your message. Written comments need to explicitly say CBAG public comment in the subject line or in the body of the message for them to be identified and distributed to CBAG members. All written comments must be received prior to 48 hours in advance of each upcoming meeting in order to be distributed to advisory group members. Comments received after that point will be distributed to members in advance of the next meeting. And with that, we can turn it over to our public commenter.
Okay, let's get the clock back up, please.
Yeah, I will let them in and then pull the clock up 1 second.
Okay.
Ready.
Public commenter, are you there?
You hear me?
Yes.
Yes, this is Bob Ortblad, a Washington.
Okay, Bob, we'll start your time now. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Bob Ortblad, a Washington resident and 40 years a registered professional civil engineer. IBR community benefits. IBR will create hundreds of jobs for our grandchildren to repair the environmental damage to Vancouver, Port Vancouver, Hayden Island, and the Columbia River. Our grandchildren will demolish the IBR's massive elevated highway 5 times wider than San Francisco's demolished Embarcadero or Seattle's demolished Alaska Way Viaduct. The IBR bridge will create a perfect killing field for predatory pike minnows to feast on thousands of juvenile salmon in a 16-acre bridge shadow and a dozen eddies behind 50-foot wide bridge piers. IBR's toll bonds will provide a fat fee for attorneys and Wall Street bankers. IBR has already paid $150 million to a score of public relation and engineering consultants. The supplemental EIS has been delayed 4 times. Consultants continue billing at $200 to $500 an hour to promote a freeway expansion and dangerous bridge. Consultants have fraudulently disqualified a safer, less costly immersed tunnel alternative. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions. You have 10 minutes reserved for public comment.
Thank you, Bob, for your comments. Do we have anyone else signed up?
We do not know.
Okay. Okay, let's resume our intros.
So Carly Francis, Washington State Department of Transportation in the Southwest Region Administrator, she, her pronouns. My highlight for the week was going to see a acrobatic and aerial performance on Sunday and new people who were in. So that was lovely to see.
Hi, Walter Valenta. My highlight was the National Olmsted Society came and toured Portland last week, and I was on the tour since 40 Mile Loop is part of is an Olmsted inspired item. And we were touring all the parks that were inspired by his work that he did with the city of Portland in 1905, like Laurelhurst Park, the Twilliger Parkway. But the highlight of it was when we went to the Peninsula Rose Garden, and all the roses were in bloom, phenomenal. And the head of the Seattle chapter of the Olmsted said to our group, "Wow, we don't have anything like this in Seattle."
Bobby.
Yeah. Hi everyone, Fabian, part of the IBR team with the community engagement team. And yeah, I didn't think I was gonna go, but I would say my highlight was yesterday. It wasn't a good one. Mexico lost against Venezuela in the Copa America, but it was a lot of fun to watch.
Eric.
Hi everyone, Eric Tring with the equity team. My highlight so far this week is that I finally bought a ticket for my mom to move to the US. 16 years, long wait, but finally.
Yay!
Our good friend from the city.
I didn't realize we're all going.
That's okay, we got time.
Hi, everyone.
It's summer, you know, we gotta mix it up, you know?
Yeah, Caitlin Reff with City of Portland, PBOT, I manage our major projects in transit group. And I would say I've got 2 young kids and we're successfully, this is our first summer entering into the summer camp world, and I've gotten them into their summer camps. They seem reasonably satisfied. So that's my achievement, getting them out the door in the morning.
Hi, Shania Posey, City of Portland. My highlight is my one and only child turned 3 on Monday. So I have successfully kept something alive for 3 years. And happy, so.
We're going to Salome.
Oh, sorry, I was in another world. Hi everyone, my name is Salome or Salome. I use she, her pronouns. I am the community engagement lead here at IBR. And my highlight for the week is very low bar. I woke up this morning and I made it here safe. So that's my highlight every day.
Jeanette Santiago, I'm with the equity team. I use she, her pronouns. And I, just like Shannon, I'm coming back from a high of vacation. My husband and I went to Peru and we had a great time. And yesterday, it was our anniversary. We had 31 years of marriage. So.
Hi, I'm Fabiola. I use they and she pronouns. I am with the equity team and support a lot of the work on the community engagement team. My highlight for the week, so it started with a low light, which is a flat tire Wednesday after work, but then the highlight came in that I was able to work really well with my partner to make sure that we were able to take care of that. Last time I got a flat tire, it was an absolute nightmare. And this time it was just really sweet to see how we worked together and got my kid where he needed to be. So that was really nice.
I love that. Hi, Catherine Kelly, City of Vancouver Policy Advisor. I don't know, I think I've had several highlights. Caitlin, I'm phasing out of the summer camp world, so that is a highlight. We were able to rally though last night and go to the Timbers, Thorns, Green and Gold match, which was really fun. So they mixed the two teams together. Really fun.
Awesome. Okay, let's go to program update. We'll ask our program administrator, Greg Johnson, to provide an update. Greg?
Thank you, Janelle. Let's go to the next slide, please. So just 2.5 weeks ago, we had our most recent bi-state legislative committee meeting. Very well attended by legislators on both sides of the river. Very robust conversation. There was conversation around the tolling and the potential tolling of bicycles and pedestrians, which this program has no plans on putting forward an idea such as that. And as we explained to folks that we are seeking to try and decongest and get folks into cleaner modes of transportation, and tolling walkers or bikers would be antithetical to that idea. But a lot of good conversations. We hope to meet with them again before the year is out and continue the conversation. So the bi-state tolling subcommittee met June 21st. And this group continues to meet, and this is the group which is a subcommittee of both the Oregon Transportation Commission and the Washington State Transportation Commission are meeting to look at setting toll rates and policies for tolling on the I-5 bridge. We gave a tour to the Association of Washington Cities. We also are continuing with our robust community engagement as we are hurtling towards a draft supplemental document coming out later this year. So we're working diligently to be as public facing as possible at fairs, festivals, and anywhere where folks ask us to come and present. So we've also been reaching out to industry partners. I was just in Atlanta talking to the American Society of Civil Engineers, their international conference. We had a well-attended session and with 2 other speakers that were speaking on equity in transportation and what it means. and how important it is to the industry overall. So it was a great meeting, learned some new things, and we will probably be inviting either one or both of the other speakers to come and talk to our community about some of the issues that they face. So we're also having conversations with contractors and consultants. So we were at the Business Leaders Regional Transportation Summit on Hayden Island about a week and a half ago, and had great conversation explaining what the program is and how our approach to delivering this program will be tremendously important for those folks to have input into it. So the conversation is continuing once again as we are looking to be through the draft supplemental process by the end of this year. And we have commitments to get through the final supplemental by the end of next year, and hopefully putting a shovel in the ground to start this program by the end of 2025, early 2026. So the team is working hard with our federal partners, and that's about it for an update. I'll take any questions that any of you folks may have.
Great. Any questions for Program Administrator Johnson? Seeing none in the room. Emily, do we have any in the virtual space?
Seeing none virtually.
Okay, great. Thank you, Greg. Emily, we'll turn over to you to kick off this next section.
All right, thank you so much. So we are going to be diving into our category for this month, which is avoid further harm. So largely speaking to mitigations and things along those lines. If we could go to the next slide, please. So before we dive into that, we wanted to just give a little bit of an overview of the process. Much of this we've talked about before, but we thought it's helpful to have a reminder of like, what does the work look like both for this group and also our team behind the scenes through these different phases. So, we've been in the midst of our brainstorm phase where we've been putting all of our ideas on the table, and that is going to continue through August. And then we're going to move into this next phase of review, refine, where we're really going to dig into the details of what we put on the table so far, start adding in different considerations, like potential funding sources, who responsible parties might be, different details like that, that will really help us to understand what will these look like once they're put into practice, and what information do we need to be able to really move them forward, or maybe move a different direction if it's not aligning with what the program needs. And so that will be tentatively through September to March in 2025, and we will take time through each of the categories to do that process. And so you'll see this piece on the work between the phases. So our team, to really help us through that review refine phase and to get information to all of you to make that discernment, we have been working with and will continue to work with an interdisciplinary team of the different program teams. So this representation from design teams, environmental, procurement, climate, finance, DBE workforce, and then our tribal liaison. And so they help to provide input and analysis on the different benefits that have been put on the table, and help us to ask some questions that we can then bring back to all of you in that review refine to really dig into, well, what does this specific wording mean, and how far do we want this benefit to go? So that's the work that we're doing behind the scenes with the teams, and that will continue to bring back to all of you in this iterative process. In addition to that, we have held asset mapping sessions with program partners and other interested parties like Kimco Realty. And so those conversations have really been to identify some work that those groups are doing and those agencies are doing that could potentially be in alignment with community benefits, and that we could possibly plug into or leverage as part of this process. So for example, if one agency is putting funding on the table for development or for a park or for green spaces, that could be in alignment with a benefit that's on the table. So how can we make that connection? So that's some of the work that we're doing behind the scenes.
Emily, real quickly, we got a question in the room. Holly had a
Yeah.
question.
So, just looking at the timeline here, some of the things that we've been talking about in various sections actually do somewhat impact the bridge design. So at what point, if we want to sort of move forward with a certain recommendation, I mean, knowing that the construction is going to start at the end of 2025, sort of what is the drop dead date beyond which we really can't change anything?
It's a great question, Holly. I think this is something we may have to come back to. We just met with all the team leads, task leads yesterday afternoon to discuss making sure our timelines are all synced up. So we may have some adjustments. That's why this says tentatively, that we might have to flex things depending on what those task leads tell us is the drop dead for their particular task areas. So it's a great question. We're definitely on top of it, and we can let you know more after the task leads have time to spend with the materials that we just shared with them yesterday afternoon. And then Greg, I don't know if you had something else to add to.
Yeah, if I could add that we will be looking at a contract for the bridge itself that will be a design build type contract. So we will have months of meeting with a selected contractor to work through details of design. So it is the bridge work itself will not start in 2025 or 2026. We're looking to be in that first in-water work window actually in 2027. So we have time on issues that are related to design and final design. Right now, we are still just doing preliminary early design to get some ideas out there of what this thing could be. So nothing is finalized yet. So we still have a lot of time for input.
Okay. All right, keep going, Emily.
All right, and so just to wrap this timeline piece up, as Shannon mentioned, we may end up having to flex a bit here, but tentatively right now we have April and May slated for when we would be doing that recommendation piece. So when we will be going through the modified consensus. And at that point, you know, the hope is that we have gone through up to, I think, 6 hours at that point in each of these categories with all of you. So we'll be feeling like it's in a good place and folks are ready to move forward with those recommendations. So if we can move to the next slide, please. And sorry, one other thing to mention as well is that we sent out as part of your meeting materials a handout, and you'll notice that it includes all of the benefits that have been put on the table so far. So it's a little different than what we provided to date. Usually we focus on the category just to kind of help folks focus, but we've provided all of the benefits on the table so far, which includes that first batch that we had moved forward. So folks have that for a frame of reference. You'll see there's quite a bit on there. We've done a lot of really great work. And so that's what we're going to be kind of digging through when we do this review refine. And so another piece you'll notice for the avoid further harm category is that much of it was part of that first batch of recommendations. So there's just a few that are kind of the examples that I'll go through on the next slide, but we have some room here to do some additional brainstorming today. So for this category, as a reminder, we are looking at avoid further harm, meaning actively seeking out options with a harm reduction priority rather than simply mitigate disproportionate impacts on historically impacted and underserved communities and populations. Next slide, please. So a few of the examples that we have here on the table are to improve communication with the community during construction by dedicating channels to report issues, potentially drawing inspiration from ODOT's Ask ODOT system. Consider using AI and technical tools for real-time support to address community member concerns or questions. Perform foundation inspection / video on sensitive homes and buildings or those adjacent to high vibration construction activities, such as demolition, prior to the beginning of construction to document any existing condition and any subsequent damage caused by IBR, and to define a potential good neighbor agreement for construction. So again, we encourage you as we move into our small groups to take a look at the handout at what we've covered so far in this category. In that first batch, we covered quite a bit. So we want to think kind of beyond that and other ideas and build upon what we've got here on the slide. So with that, I will turn it to Shannon, who will give us our instructions for our small groups.
Thanks, Emily. I think in person, y'all are going to stay as one group like we did last month. So Salome will facilitate that conversation, and Fabiola, if you can take notes, that would be great. And folks online, I will move you into breakout rooms. We have facilitators and note takers for each of those small groups as well.
Okay, and real quickly, before we do that, I just want to make sure that everyone kind of has a good sense in terms of what's happening in this next section. So any questions from CBAG members before we break out the small groups?
So we're to look at this first page and continue adding to it?
Yes, that's correct.
And those 4 bulleted items or 5 that you had up on the screen, they are not already on this page, correct?
So they should be part of that, but they are not part of that initial batch that we already did the voting on. They are just additional ideas that are on the table that we want to build upon.
I think items in blue here are just, as we've had these conversations over time, we've often been wondering, what did we already do versus what are we doing today? And so I think it's being provided as a lot of information. I think I encouraged this, so you're welcome, or I'm sorry. But in part because we have had that back and forth ongoing of like, is this already reflected? And so this is providing that what has already been discussed along with sort of new font of ideas. It does look like 2 of the things that were on the slides are actually here as 11 and 12, and maybe these other 2 that were discussed, the sort of inspections regarding foundation, possible damage, and good neighbor agreements. Those are other ideas that are just sort of being floated as things to consider and examples. But it is brainstorming around new ideas in the area.
Other questions? Clarification. So we will stay together as one group here. And who is our note taker in this?
I'll be the note taker.
Okay, and then I'll facilitate. Okay, go ahead, Shannon. We'll turn it back to you to give folks their assignments.
Wonderful. So you all in the main room there in person can go ahead and mute, and I'll move everybody online into your breakout rooms now. And Emily, I left you out so you could float.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey, Tom, I just saw you come in. I'm gonna move you into a breakout room. We're talking about avoid further harm. Thanks, Fabian. You can go ahead and put back up the breakout room slide.
We're using it here, Shannon.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I know it's always abrupt, no matter how many warnings we get about breakout rooms, but we'll move into large group discussion here as soon as the large group or the in-person room rejoins us.
And we are back. Okay, well, thank you all. Welcome back. Really great discussion here in the room, and I know that we had great discussions as well as in the virtual space. We're going to take some time, 2 to 3 minutes each group, just reporting out what were some of the takeaways from your discussions. And anyone would like to volunteer for the group here in the room? If not, we'll have Fabiola. Volunteers. Yeah, everyone's looking at you.
No, I actually I like someone else to do it to see if they heard what I think I was hearing.
Yeah, what I captured as the key takeaways was there was a lot of discussion about early and ongoing comprehensive communications planning. And I believe the benefit currently says during construction and expanding that to pre-construction as well to get people used to and what's coming up, and so they can do some planning as early as possible. And so we talked about a few different methods, but it was a strong emphasis on the communications. The second one was exploring how the methods and how services to document existing conditions for properties adjacent to the construction will be happening, and letting those folks know also as early as possible to be able to plan for that. And the last point that I caught was the increased public transportation services to mitigate transportation impacts during construction, as well as exploring setting up the transportation system on the new bridge early on to get folks used to using that as soon as possible, and the changes that will be happening there.
One additional point was a pre and post sort of inspection.
The third bullet there.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that was connected to the second point that I said, but thank you for clarifying that.
Did that capture this group's discussion well? Anything to add?
Just one of the things that we acknowledged was the difficulty of getting people's consistent attention over a decade.
Right.
And so is there a push as opposed to a pull approach? And then I'll throw, just because it just occurred to me, tolling will start soon, right? I mean, if there's pre-construction tolling, I think late next year.
Pre-completion tolling, not pre-construction tolling.
Pre-completion tolling.
We're gonna make
But-
sure people can see something before we start it.
But that's an opportunity to directly connect with every single user of the bridge. And so harnessing that connection as a way to push,
right,
not just pull.
The push notification was a really big one.
And then just one last, we talked about a lot of ingredients that are typical to change management plans, and change management strategies. And so maybe it's not just communication, but it's also a broader change management strategy.
Great. Okay, Emily, we'll turn over to you to walk through each of our virtual groups.
All right, thank you so much. Let's start with Monica's group. Is there anybody, do we have a volunteer who wants to hit the highlights from that group discussion?
I'm gonna ask Farley to give the highlights if you don't mind.
Sure, I took some notes, but this, I might rely on my teammates here. Let's see, we talked about engaging homeless populations and creating opportunities for housing. Michael, maybe you can speak a little bit to, I loved your idea about Olympic Village style housing on Jansen Beach on Hayden Island to support construction during construction, recognizing that it's going to have, the construction process will have significant impacts to the businesses on Hayden Island. We started going down a rabbit hole of sustainable design, and I had made a request to have specific kind of evaluation criteria for what that really means. So looking at embodied carbon, energy efficiency, resource conservation, and human health impacts. Personally, I have a lot of sensitivity around like when green building is thrown out as this very broad term, and if there's no teeth to it, it really doesn't mean anything. And Greg was starting to share a little bit about sustainable certifications. Teammates, anybody else want to jump in here? We covered a lot. Peter, I know you had some ideas as well. And Shan. No, Monica, am I missing anything?
Farley, I can pitch in a little bit from the notes here. Some of the things that we also talked about was really emphasizing the importance of communication and really making sure that we have robust signage throughout the area, really working to meet people where they were at. We also discussed the importance of doing things like bringing in technology where appropriate, even having maybe something like the Text the Bridge program, so that way people have that access and on demand. And then one of the things that I think I also heard from our group a lot was really thinking about the river as a key partner in this and thinking through what that looks like in terms of really making sure that those interests and those needs are represented and thinking through what that methodology looks like. And that's something that I heard expressed from a couple folks.
Thank you, Bree and Farley, for jumping in and giving the update. Thank you. And Janelle, back to you. Oh, I'm sorry, Emily.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, so we will go over to Erica's group if we've got a volunteer that would like to speak. And you definitely don't have to feel pressure that you capture everything, just any highlights that you remember that you'd like to share, and others can chime in as well. So do we have a volunteer for that group? All right, well, maybe we could have our note taker for that group give us some of the highlights then. That would be really helpful. I believe that was Paris.
Yes, can you guys hear me okay? Okay, awesome. So thank you, Emily. We talked briefly about like just water, environmental, land development, ensuring we aren't damaging or polluting land and soil in that process. We talked about utilizing parkland and restoring it if need be. We talked about other impacts as far as like gentrification, making sure that, sorry, I'm like trying to go through the notes. We talked about housing, industrial and commercial, making sure that we have, we talked about jobs briefly for houselessness, making sure that we keep the money if we can in our area instead of, going outsourcing those funds. We talked about historical significance and making sure that we're not losing any of that. So maybe creating facilities for historical significance. We talked about having a resource line or hotline to help people talk about potential impacts and for maybe that being a phone or online just for different generations. We talked about, Ryan briefly talked about the ODOTS model, how you're able to call and email and you get a response within days. We've also talked about, I think that's mostly what we talked about. Can I pass it over to someone to add on?
Any additional takeaways from that group? A lot of similarities across these groups too. Communications being a big one I'm hearing, and early and often communications. This is a big one. Okay, hearing none. All right.
I'll jump in on that. Communications, but also budget for some simple actions, perhaps.
Talk more about that, such as.
If staff, obviously staff would say, okay, here's how we elevate concerns that somebody calls in with up to a higher level and take action. And then if staff is looking at it and saying, yeah, we should take action on that. We're harming this individual. Let's do something about that. Oh, but gee whiz, we don't have a budget for it. So let's see if we can create a budget for it.
Gotcha. Thank you. Other thoughts from that group?
Jono, one thing I'd like to add, I was popping back and forth between the virtual groups, and I just want to mention, I heard a lot of really great stuff around workforce and workforce development and pieces like that. And I just want to give a reminder that we will be digging back into that topic here coming up soon in August. And so that'll be another opportunity where we can put some more ideas on the table in that particular category. So I know folks are pretty excited about that. So we'll turn it back over to you, Jonah.
Do we have any other groups who have not gone? How many groups have not gone?
That's all of them.
Okay, any additional takeaways that folks want? We've got a little additional time here, of course. You know, I'm happy to let folks out earlier, although also happy to keep you for additional 30 minutes per the agenda, you know. Other thoughts that folks want to ensure is elevated. IMC Farley.
Yeah, I just had a question. Is there going to be a formal design review process for the bridge construction? I know City of Portland, if you're building buildings, you have design review you have to go through to get approval. Is there any sort of aesthetic review that's happening as part of the design process?
Greg, would you like to weigh in there?
Yeah, so as we are getting closer to having a request for proposals for a designer slash constructor, there will be public facing input and conversations regarding the aesthetics of the bridge. It is not covered under any of the formal things that Portland or Vancouver may do for buildings that go in their jurisdiction, but we will have input through both the executive steering group, the community advisory group, and equity advisory group to be looking at designs for sensitivity to what the community feels is appropriate.
Greg, Nate?
I just wanted to echo one comment I made in our group that just kind of presented was around further harm and not creating resources that people can touch like real time around workforce. Erica mentioned in our group that there's some on the IBR page, more information coming around workforce ways to plug in to the trades we know we need with the lack of workforce already an issue in the state of Oregon and Washington. So I guess I'm looking for us to not wait till August, but maybe start to think about what BOLI data is already telling us. Because when I see a stat line like white women are being terminated at a higher rate than every woman of color in the trades that is active, that's a big problem. So I just wonder, are we waiting too long and creating further harm by not starting a campaign today? So I just would love to know where that looks, where we're looking at that when I hear Greg say we're starting a project at the end of next year and we don't have enough apprentices as we sit today. So I just want to see if there's a way to, I guess, jolt the system, if you will, get more information on the website and start a maybe contractor campaign to get going now, you know, by hearing from ODOT and others that we need this to be set up before the RFP comes out. Because I know they're listening and they're waiting. So I just want to see if we're open to starting that discussion sooner than later.
I definitely want Greg to weigh in, but I just wanted to say, Nate, this group will be talking about workforce more in August, but there is work going on and you all will hear more about that and what that looks like before we delve into your discussion. I know we had one session on workforce, but you all asked for a second, and so that's where we were able to plug it in is August. But Greg, please weigh in on what is already happening on the program.
Yeah, so our first foray into this was commissioning the workforce study that was done to understand the nature of the gap in numbers that we're going to need not only for this program, but the other large construction projects that will be happening in this region. We're also putting together what we hope will be rolled out before the end of the year. As we previously had done for community engagement, we put out micro grants. We are looking at taking that to a level and reaching out to organizations to do micro grants for workforce to start getting people in the pipeline now, so we're not rushed at the end. These first contracts that are going to start in 2025, late 2025, early 2026, are not the big projects. These are smaller things that are going to be more manageable, but it will be a test of, can we implement some of these ideas even on these smaller contracts to get things moving forward. So yeah, we are thinking about it, and any ideas that folks have, we're open to hearing them.
And what does that micro grant program do? I guess, can you quickly describe what that is?
We are still working and crafting that. What the micro grant program did for our community outreach, we found community-based organizations who could help amplify our message. So a micro grant in the workforce arena may look like identifying potential candidates to start getting them into the pipeline for pre-apprenticeship programs. So it may be as simple as getting folks ready and prepared to enter into pre-apprenticeship programs.
And can I suggest, I guess, the next step in that process? That's a great idea, but not going to get us where we need to get to, Greg. We need to be talking about scholarships and grants for those already in or interested in getting to apprenticeship programs. Those young people have to then go to apprenticeship, and they won't be ready for the project. So I guess I'm suggesting what NAMAC has already branded with Knife River is to create scholarships for those that are interested to jump into the trades on job sites today. And we've already proven we can do that, not just with NAMAC, but there's a lot of grants that these contractors are already doing that I know ODOT is not familiar with. So I guess I'm just saying we could be doing stuff now and not waiting until August by bringing contractors in or just learning about scholarships that are plentiful out here that are getting older adults, older young individuals into the trades now, not pre-apprenticeship, apprenticeship. And again, we need to do the pre-apprenticeship, but I'm saying we're missing the boat if we're not talking about apprenticeship now.
We are very much interested in hearing about ideas and programs like that. We're going to be talking to our federal partners about resources that they can help bring to the table to assist in this area. So yeah, let's have a conversation offline and see how we can merge ideas.
Great comments. Other questions, comments before we wrap?
Janie had a hand up.
Okay. Yes.
It's okay. I was just going to bring up the concept that Nate had talked about apprenticeships, and they talked about it. So that was great.
Awesome. Anything to build upon there? Any other thoughts? Anyone in the room? Why don't we go ahead and wrap up? I'll invite Mary Ann to offer any closing comments.
Thank you so very much for helping get this portion a second look. We're making some progress here, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you at our next meeting, which will be over on the month of July 25th, 2024, and we will be in Vancouver.
We'll be in Vancouver.
Please try, if at all possible, to join us in person. We'll bring the huckleberry scones with something yummy to go along with it. We'd love to see all of you. I think things work a little bit better when we're all in person, actually seeing each other and not having to fuss around with technology. Have a good 4th of July. We'll see you next month.
Great. Administrator Johnson, any closing thoughts?
So just a big thank you for the robust conversation. The group I was in touched on some very excellent ideas that we will need to make sure that are incorporated into what we finally produce out of this group.
Great. And Emily, we'll turn over to you to go through the last slides, and then we'll let folks go.
All right, thank you so much. we could get those pulled up really quickly.
By the way, Mayor, you're recorded, so we'll all be looking.
I'm putting it on the calendar. It's on the calendar.
We're gonna try this push notification.
That's right.
And I'll remind you, little reminder.
All right, well, if we could go back one more slide, please. Okay, so just a reminder for our meeting next month will be on July 25th at IBR office, and we will have be digging into our our physical design brainstorm session. And then in August, that's where I mentioned we will be digging into workforce equity and economic opportunities. So bring some more of those great ideas we talked about today to that session, and that will wrap up our brainstorming phase. And then September, we will kick off Review Refine with mobility and accessibility, and then potentially community benefits following that. And then the next slide, please. And so as a reminder, we have some other upcoming meetings for the program that may be of interest. So we have our Equity Advisory Group on July 15th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. We have our Bi-State Tolling Subcommittee and Transportation Commissions, July 19th from 1 to 3 p.m. And then our next meeting, of course, on July 25th, 9:30 to 11:30. Thanks so much.
Great, thank you, everyone. Have a
Thank you.
wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone.
Mayor, I appreciate you.
Thank you.